Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Tri Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Tri Beginner's Luck. I am in an undisclosed location, on location somewhere. It's going to be like that for a little while because life is great and things are exciting. I'm transitioning to a new place, and so I don't know where any of my stuff is. That's to say the least. I don't know where any of my recording. And so much about that is about life. What I should have done technically was put everything, which I did, in one place, but I can't find that box. Such is life. And being prepared for triathlons, you should have all your tri stuff in one location. Makes it easier when you're trying to find the things that you need for races. As you can see, I'm still a beginner in a lot of ways, and I will learn at some point. But today, we are going to be talking to an actual newbie, a beginner, who I met through teaching spin classes at the YMCA. And I was sharing about this program that the YMCA has, which is called Capital YTri. And I'm always encouraging people to try. And so I am excited to bring someone who I guess I kind of introduced to the team of Capital YTri to this audience. And let me just let you know, there were so many things I did not know about her. One, she's an incredible person, but two, like, I knew she was an athlete just by like stature and the questions she would ask in class, but I didn't know she was that girl athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was elite. I just found out by talking to some random teammate that she was a swimmer in college. Because when I get to know people, I get to know people like just for who they are. I'm not asking them all these deep questions. It's like, okay, we like this sport, we teach. But I should have known when at her first race, she podiumed. What? We're going to get right into this story because I know it's going to be good. Well, I'm excited to bring newbie Jillian Cantrell to the Tri Beginner's Luck family. Jillian, welcome to TBL. How you doing?
Hello, I'm excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you. And it's just like, you know how you can talk about the sport and whether you've heard about it from wherever it is, but I feel kind of like personally responsible for bringing you to YTri, and was so pleased when I heard, I think it was, who was it that came back and was like, let me tell you about our girl and what she did at the race. We were like, where's Jillian? And then we looked up and she's at the podium. I was like, should have known, should have known. Man, your first year. Now you're entering in your second season.
Right.
So let's talk about what was last year like for you in general. Like, I don't know how long it's been since you were in team sports, but I know you've been living in DC for a couple of years. So let's just talk about that, and then we'll get into like the origins and getting back to basics, because that's what this season is about. It's about back to basics.
Right.
So yeah, what was last season like for you?
Yeah, so happy to be here. Excited to talk about it a little bit more. So obviously, I stumbled across your spin class, I guess, fall 2023. And that's when we kind of talked about the program a little bit. And it definitely stuck in the back of my mind. I remember I looked it up online, and I was like, this seems like a really great program, if I'm still in DC, if I'm still a member of the YMCA, definitely something to keep on my radar. And then I had moved to DC in June of 2023. So I was still very fresh and new to the city. And then January rolls around, and you know how the winter is here. It is not fun. So I remember, the triathlon thing was still kind of in the back of my mind. And I saw the flyers hanging around the YMCA. And I was like, this is my sign. Winter's hard. I'm kind of homesick. Post that first year post grad is pretty difficult. So I was like, this is my sign to try something new and to give me a goal and to give me another community that I could kind of turn to that was different from my college friends or different from my work friends. So that's kind of what last season was about for me, was trying something new and meeting new people.
Now, I am all about trying something new and meeting new people.
I know.
That's my jam. It's my jam. What's so I think unique is I don't think I knew that you were just new to the city. And being new to DC can be a whole undertaking.
Yes.
And especially because the city is so transient, people are here for a minute. And so you tend not to want to, those who've been here for a while tend not to want to make deep investments until we know, like, okay, they're going to be here for a minute. Well, welcome to your, I guess, year and a half, 2025.
Yeah,
I don't know.
on 2 years, but it's crazy. It definitely has gone. It does not feel like almost 2 years.
No, it doesn't feel like it. So before we talk about your season, let's talk about your beginning. So I
Yeah.
heard that you were a competitive swimmer. Tell us
Yeah.
about growing up swimming and what that was like.
Yeah. So I we grew up with a pool in our backyard, and I have two older sisters. One is 12 years older than me and one is 11 years older than me. And that taught me how to get some skills pretty early on in life. So I never attended swim lessons. My sisters just taught me how to swim from a very young age because I wanted to keep up with them. So in order to keep up, I had to learn how to swim. So really always had an affinity for the water. And when I was 8, a new summer swim team was starting up by my house. My mom was like, let's just try it. I was athletic. It was softball, basketball, soccer, volleyball, you name it, I did it. So we wanted to try something new. And I loved it. We didn't know anything about the sport at all. And there's a lot of nuances to the sport, but I kept with it and then started swimming year round and swam all through middle school, high school, and then swam in college at Washington and Lee in Virginia. So been swimming since I was 8 and have not stopped since.
And swimming is one of those sports that really is the make or break to someone's triathlon career. Like if they can't swim, they're intimidated by it. And if they can swim,
Yeah.
it makes them more eager to go after it because it's like, look, I already got one of the thirds out of the way. I just got to figure out the swim and the bike or the bike and the run. Um, so fast forward to YTri. What was training with Y? I need to call it Capital YTri. What
I know.
was training? I forget. We used to just be like YTri, but now we
I,
are Capital YTri. So what is it like, or what was it like to train with Capital YTri last year?
yes, I mean, obviously I'm used to a team sport. That is something that I had missed in just the 6 months that I had no longer been swimming in college. I just obviously loved the workouts, but my body was a little tired, needed a break. So I was just excited to get back into a community with people who had similar interests and cared about their fitness and their health and wanted to do something good for their body. And I was very nervous when I started. Like you said, this city can be scary. So then trying a new thing as well, and you're like, I don't even know if I'm going to be good at this or even going to enjoy it. It's just not really about being good at it, I guess. And I had just made some of the best friends, and it made me want to wake up on an early Tuesday and Thursday and walk to the Y in the dark. So it's definitely the people I think that make this program so special and keep people coming. When people have been doing it for 20 years, there's something special about it.
No, absolutely. And 20 years, we're probably talking about Larry because he is the founder, and Capital YTri is celebrating 25 years this year of being in Washington, D.C. And yes, those bright and early mornings of 6 a.m. are a real shock to the system, especially in the winter months when it's still dark outside and you want to hit snooze and there might be ice on the ground or it snowed the day before. And you're like, how do I navigate through this, especially if you're walking and or driving? So
Yeah,
I totally get that. And the structure of the program is kind of neat because it's you swim on one day, either Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with a group of people. So you're constantly swimming with people. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, you're either with a spin group or a run group. And that's dictated by your run time. And so it's a really good way for who are in the area who want a tri team who has a destination location to train out of on a consistent basis.
right.
So you're waking up early in the morning. What was it like when you did your first brick?
Oh my gosh. I know why they call it. Well, I guess there's a technical term for it, but I always thought it was brick because your legs felt like bricks, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what they feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, bike run in combination,
Yes. Bike run.
but you're like bricks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was hard.
Very hard. And not just that, with Capital YTri, this was something that I didn't realize. When we do that first outdoor brick, you're thinking you're doing a brick based off of just a little bit of time, you're not doing a full distance, but you are doing the full distance. If you're doing a sprint, you're doing 15 miles and the 3 miles run afterwards. Or if you're doing the Olympic, you're doing 25 miles and then the 6.2 miles after. And I never got it prior to. And it's like, oh, so you are really well prepared for the actual race.
Yes.
So, what was that like? Because I think you did your first brick probably at Haynes Point, was it?
Yes. Haynes
Mhm.
Point. And I remember it was pouring and it was cold. Because it had, we start the bricks at Haynes Points a little later in the season, so it's a little bit warmer. And after you've been riding the Pierce Mill Rock Creek route for a little bit. So it had kind of started to warm up outside. And then this was an anomaly. And it was freezing, cold, dreary. Part of the original route that we would have done, there was a 5K going on, and some of the route was flooded. So we couldn't even do the typical Haynes Point loop that we do. So we had to go the opposite way and go towards the tidal basin. So it was very, and I was just freezing, but I was like, push through because it's going to make you so much stronger. And it's going to prove, I knew at that point that I could do a 25-mile bike because that's what our Rock Creek, our weekend rides are. I knew at that point that I could run 6 miles, but when you put them together, that's pretty hard. So I was able to just prove to myself, you're ready for this, because Lake Anna was a week later. So that gave me I was very comfortable going into Lake Anna because I knew I had done that and I knew I'd be able to do the swim. So,
And just for context, Lake Anna is typically in May,
mm-hmm.
and so that's not usually the team race. So Jillian was a little um, above average and wanted to test her legs out before the actual team race, which I think is important to talk about because that is where you did the first sprint, right?
Yeah, so I did a sprint there just to kind of shake things out. I wanted to see what went well, what didn't go well, gotta get the jitters, the nerves out so that when the real team race rolled around, I wasn't freaking out.
Okay, okay. So let's talk about your first team race. Tell us the name of the race, where it was located,
Yeah.
and what was it like prepping the night before the race or heading up into the day?
Yes. So Lake Anna, I want to say it was Mother's Day weekend of May 2024. Yeah. And the whole triathlon season, in swimming, I had gotten so used to this is my time goal. I want to go this time so that I can qualify for nationals. I want to go this time so I can be on the relay. You know, it was very time focused, and I was just very used to having a really strict training program and a really strict race strategy. So my attitude going into tries was just to have fun and see what my body can do. You know I'm strong. I know that YTri, the training program is incredible. So I knew I was prepared physically, but I didn't really put pressure on myself because I didn't know what to expect. So I was like, let me just go in here and, see what I can do. So Lake Anna is about 2 hours, with traffic from DC. My parents are so supportive and so sweet, and they actually drove up here. So I stayed with my parents like it was college, like high school again, staying in a hotel, before a competition. We ate spaghetti so that I could, carb load. And we drove over to the course Saturday because I had to pick up my packet. They had the newbie orientation and I wanted to go to that. At that point, I was nervous about whether or not I was going to wear a wetsuit. And I did decide to wear a wetsuit. Thank you, Liz, for giving me her suit tomorrow. That was a lifesaver. Went to bed early, woke up, ate some oatmeal. My dad cleaned my bike, and I know. And I figured out after the fact that he had also adjusted my handlebars so that'd be a little more angled, a little more aero. And just showed up and did it.
Okay, let's take a pause right there. Thank God for good parents who come to be supportive. But your dad cleaned your bike the day before and made an adjustment on your handlebars. Oh my gosh.
I think I think it was the Lake Anna where he made an adjustment. It was either Lake Anna or Culpeper. I'm not remembering, but before one of the races, he definitely made an adjustment on I think he angled them down or lowered them or something. I don't really know what it was, but it was much more comfortable. I could notice on the ride. I was like, oh, this feels better than what I've been riding on, but I just thought maybe I was sitting on the bike differently.
Okay. So I want to go back to something because most dads don't just know how to clean a bike. But we're going
Oh,
to finish through the first race. Like we've had our spaghetti dinner, we've had our oatmeal, we
yeah.
are headed to the race. So let's talk about arriving to race site. What was that like and being in T1? And I'm sure right before you guys went down to the beach, Boys to Men Mama came on because Ken Berger was probably giving all of the mothers a shout out for Mother's Day. So that's like the first song that you hear before going
Yes.
down to the beach. So what was all that like of being in transition in the dark, navigating that new terrain?
It's crazy because I just remember being shocked by the amount of people. I was like, oh, triathlons are popular, but I don't know how popular they are. And let me tell you, they are popular, especially in this region. So I show up and there are just people everywhere. And I was not expecting that. So I just, wheeled my bike over and found the YTri rack and found some of my teammates. There's a good showing of the Capital YTri team at Lake Anna. Rachel and I are really close. Alex and I were really close. So I was like, I had people to cling on to a little bit. Um, so we just had a really good time and they definitely helped ease my nerves. But you're right. And then, there are people who are wearing Team USA gear and stuff. And I'm like, what have I gotten myself into?
And it can be a little intimidating because you're like, wait a minute, what's this? Why? How do they get Team USA? What does that mean? Are they
Yes,
just repping the Olympic? Like you don't know what's happening.
right. Exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, are these people on the team, like USA team? Like, what is going on?
Okay. So you see all that. What is your mindset at this point? Like, is that calming your nerves or making you more anxious?
It actually kind of calmed my nerves a little bit because I think it just added to the fact that I really had there were no expectations, like I'm just here a part of this again, this great community. Everyone was so nice, even the people not on our team. And I was like, look at all these people who are doing triathlons and they love it. And I was so impressed by the 80-year-old men out there. So you're just like, this is a great sport. And so it just kind of made me really excited. And I was just excited to compete and see what I could do against all these people who also clearly knew what they were doing, you know? And I was like, I've got something to learn here. Learn about my body, learn about my mind. And then I can use all that to go into the Culpeper team race.
All right. So we're making our way down to the beach. You have on your wetsuit.
I remember it was cold that morning. It warmed up. It was perfect temperature during the race, but um it was cold that morning. I remember my feet were cold.
And if you're like me, once my feet are cold, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. So how did you warm your feet up in order to get mentally prepared to go swim?
Yeah, so I wore my Chacos. And again, Liz was so sweet to give me her wetsuit. She had raced in the Olympic aqua bike the day before. And she had a long sleeve Roca wetsuit and she left it with Rex to give to me. And she had kind of helped me the day before because she was like, it was beautiful. The water is so clear, like you're gonna love it, so smooth. So I put on the wetsuit, you know, walked down. I gave my Chacos to my mom, and then I did some not laps, but I did some flopping around in the water, trying to like get warmed up, get used to the wetsuit. Because I mean, I had never worn a wetsuit. I think I had worn it. I did some scuba diving in high school, so I guess that was the last time I'd ever put a wetsuit on. And it fit perfectly because Liz and I are the same size, so I was so lucky. So I just did some flopping around and then lined up, and it was time to go.
So you know how they say don't try anything new on race day, but you clearly
Yeah,
tried.
yeah.
So you tried this new thing, and the wetsuit is not something easy to try because you have to navigate putting it on and then taking it off and perhaps chafing. But luckily, it was only a sprint. So it was only 750 meters. So it wasn't
Right,
too bad.
right.
So talk about the swim part and then making it through transition to take it off.
Yeah, so I do remember now that I'm thinking about it again, I do remember being really stressed that I wasn't gonna be able to get it on. Um, because like you said, they're hard to get on and they're thick. But so I was like panic trying to get it on, and then 1 minute later I had it on. I was like, okay, that was really dramatic of me to be stressed about that. I had it on. It was so comfortable. I was also really nervous about it being long sleeves because I was worried, you know, being a swimmer, I'm so used to not having anything, you know, all being very not being restricted at all. So I was like, oh, what if this restricts me? Or what if I start to chafe? And luckily I didn't. Like I am lucky for that. And when I was doing my practice strokes, I was like, oh, this actually feels great. It was cold. So I really do think I needed the sleeves because there was a minute where I thought about not wearing a wetsuit at all. But I think I would have spent so much energy trying to keep myself semi warm that I would have been really tired by the time I even got to the bike. Um, so swam in a wetsuit, and then no one taught. This is the one thing I wish people talked about a little bit more. I think the hardest part of the race is the transition from the swim to the bike. And that hill from the beach at Lake Anna up to the transition area is pretty steep. And I was tired. So I'm just sprinting up the hill, like trying to, you know, pull in the thing, trying to get it off. And then I remember I sat down on the ground in the transition area because I needed to get it over my feet to take it off. But that was a hard, because you're so like out of breath and your adrenaline is still really high because you still just started the race. You haven't had a chance to settle in quite yet. And then I was like running, but I was tired. So I really wanted to walk, but everyone else is running. So I was like, I guess I'll run.
And that ended up being beneficial for you because
Yeah.
somehow, even though I'm interested now to know what was your transition time because you said you had to sit down and you still were able to zoom past people. So I'm excited to hear like what was your bike like because I'm like imagining first time running up that big hill, which you're right, it's a nice
It's a nice,
gradual hill.
everyone else
And
about the bike to run transition, which is very difficult. But I honestly think the swim to bike is hard.
yeah, it's not easy. And then when you come out of T1, you're going up a hill to get
Yes.
out, to
Yes.
get to the course. So talk about that. Like you've made it through T1. Now you're on to the bike.
So I'm on the bike, and like you said, so also at this time, I think it's important to know that I didn't even have a triathlon suit. Like I had no sort of uniform because ours hadn't come in yet. So I'm just wearing normal
Oh,
bikes. No, like I literally like probably look so silly. I'm just wearing normal bike shorts. I'd swam in my normal bike shorts, and I had worn a sports bra, and then I'd put my wetsuit on, and then I just threw a Lululemon tank top on once I got my wetsuit off.
pause. We have to take a
I know.
moment of silence because you swam in thick chamois cycling shorts.
Hmm.
Did you address your AV system appropriately so that you would be protected in that area?
Yeah, I think so.
Like you put on like chamois cream and stuff
Yeah,
and
yeah.
oh, okay. Carry on with the story. Let me mind mine.
I know. So yeah, I was wearing just like normal clothes, I guess. And then, like you said, that hill is steep. So I'm just like trying to even, I didn't like enjoy running in my bike shoes. Like that was not a fun experience running to the line to get on the bike. And then, like you said, here's the line and here's the hill. Like, you know what I mean? You're starting, like, there was no time for me to like get on and clip in, you know? So I'm trying to clip in, like, while I'm getting up the hill. My gears, obviously, I was in a low gear, but still, I'm like trying to clip in, like, get adjusted on the bike. Um, and then I just like took off and I was like, okay, well, here we go. Like, let's do this.
And the
I
line
also
that
forgot to, um, I didn't have time to switch my watch from swim to bike. So the whole time during the bike, I also had no idea how many miles I had gone. Like I had no idea where I was on the bike course.
interesting. So you were out there riding blind, not knowing, unless you were paying attention to the mile markers, which were probably only at every 5 miles.
Right, right. Yeah. Like there was a lot of time where there were cows, beautiful, beautiful countryside. I mean, amazing. But yeah, I really did not have a good gauge of where I was at.
Okay. So you're what I was going to say is that line that she's referring to is the mount line. And oftentimes in races, you can't, did it just black out for you?
Yes. Okay, we're back.
Oh my God. It's still recording.
Yeah, it says recording.
Okay. So that line, we're having some technical difficulties, y'all. So, but the line that she was referring to is called a mount line. You can't mount before that line. And if you do, you will be disqualified. Now, disqualification will determine if it's a USAT race or if it's an off-brand non-USAT race. So there's different race, but if you're racing in a USAT sanctioned race, there is a mount line that you cannot mount before. And then when you come back from the race or from the bike, you have to dismount at a particular line that they will have appropriated for you or designated for you in order to continue on until T2. So you're in the countryside, you don't know your real time, you don't know where you are. What are you thinking while you're out there? Like, are you passing people? Are people passing you? Like, what's happening out there?
No, I think it's important to note that I think coming out of the water, uh, I mean, I didn't go in the top 10. The kinetic races, they allow the top 10. If you're in contention to finish top 10, you start early, whatever that is. Do you know what I'm talking about? So I didn't start swimming with them, but I still swam. I got in the water towards the front. I passed everyone in the swim. I think I was number 3 overall after the swim. So I had a pretty hefty lead. But I got passed on the bike. I did not pass a single person on the bike. I got passed. And so then once people started passing me, a lot of them were really in shape men and older women. So I didn't feel bad about myself. But then once like a significant amount of people started to pass, not significant, but once, you know, five or so people had passed me, I was like, okay, the goal is to hold on here. Like, we're not going to let anyone else pass us, you know? So I definitely noticed that. I think my bike at that point was maybe a little bit weaker than I had thought. Um, so it kind of gave me something to look at for Culpeper. But I also think it was like my position. Like, I think I was really sitting up straight on the bike. Like, I don't think I was aero at all.
And typically you won't be, especially if you have just a regular road bike. You're not going to be aero.
Right.
You're not going to
I
know all these
do. Like,
things. Yeah, yeah. But you do see the difference in those who do have access and have been in the sport a little longer and they're on their tri bikes, how they're able to cut through a little bit faster and gain some speed based off of the equipment, which is, it is what it is. But I
yes.
love how you said you didn't start with those who were wanting to be in contention for the overall winner, but you passed the majority of them. So that goes to show like you really have like this the strong foundation of swimming.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you get back, a couple of people passed you, but you decided in your mind you were holding on. What
Yes.
was it like coming back into Lake Anna Park and getting ready to transition into T2?
I was just at that point, I was like, okay, we're really holding on. And I don't know, this may like not be a good way of thinking about it, but I think even if you're a super strong runner, I think that by the time the run portion rolls around, you're everyone is so tired that you're not really making gains in the run portion. You're keeping your spot, you know? So I just decided to hammer through. I was like, we're gonna do this. And I think it was the fastest 5K I had run throughout training. And it's hilly too. So I was just like ready to, you know, be done and be excited about finishing my first triathlon. So I just like put my head down and went for it.
Mm-hmm. And by hilly, she means the same hill that you go up for the bike is the same hill you go up for the run,
Yeah.
but it's only one loop and it is a little bit rolling through the more scenic areas of the trail.
Yes.
Um,
And then then the second part, the last mile of it is kind of downhill. So I was just like really hammering it out. I was like, no one else is passing me. I was racing these two guys at the end. I think one of them did pass me, but my boss just walked in.
Hey, boss, tell her to make an appearance.
He laughed. He was like, I
Okay.
heard.
So let's, for true transparency, we are doing this, and Jillian has a really, really pretty awesome job. Won't say what it is, but you know, she's where all the action is. We'll leave it at that. If
Sure.
you can read through the lines, you can read through the lines. So with that said, we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes because we're now at the end of hearing about your first story. So you hammer it out, you run for the 5K, your fastest 5K that you've done thus far. What was it like when you crossed the finish line?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. They gave us medals and flowers because it was Mother's Day. And it's so fun because the announcer, you know, he announces your name and where you're from and when you're finishing. So that was super, super fun. And my family, both my parents were there and my boyfriend was there. So it was just like really fun to be with them. Again, my parents are all three of them, but my parents are so supportive and they are swim parents at heart. So I think they were really excited to be able to like cheer me on in an athletic event again, you know? So I didn't really know what to think after. I was like, okay, well, that was fun. And they're like, how do you feel? You know, you looked great. And I was like, I feel really good. And I felt strong. And I knew, I was like, I feel like I could keep going. And that's what made me feel really confident going into the team race because yes, I was tired, but I recovered pretty quickly, which to me was like signaled that, you know, I had more left in the tank.
Okay. When did you learn that you had podiumed?
Oh, so my, again, my parents, you know how you can scan your QR, whatever you can do, you get a QR code and you can track your racer throughout. It's like that's when I finished, my mom just like kept refreshing and she was like, I think you won. So she was tracking and she was like, I think you won your age group. And I was like, no way. We just like kept looking and she was like, you won.
Oh, you won the age group, not just podium,
Yeah.
but won the age. What? Okay, so you literally tried beginner's luck. I want to recount this. Not only did we go to the first race, we got our handlebars adjusted. You passed everybody mostly on the swim, got passed on the run, I meant bike, competed with two guys coming down to the finish line shoot. Then you find out that you win your age group. You tried beginner's luck. Oh, and you tried a wetsuit for the first time in your race. And you sat down. So that goes to show you the athletic prowess that you possess. And by coming in first place, I think you were able to guarantee
Yeah,
a spot at nationals.
I qualified for nationals, but I decided not to go because it was my college young alum reunion weekend with all my best friends. So I selfishly decided to go to that instead of age group nationals.
Oh, so the young alums is better than going to nationals because you know you have plenty other times to make nationals. Is that the case? Ah, okay. Because that we're just that good. We got times in these streets to make it. Well, I know this is during the middle of a unique day, a unique time period, especially with everything that's going on. But I want to hear about your dad and how did he know to clean your bike?
Yeah, so my dad growing up, he's always been very into cycling, road biking, mountain biking. He has done all sorts of trips with his friends, was a part of all sorts of biking clubs. And, I learned how to ride a bike probably when I learned how to walk, honestly, and I remember when I was younger, we had the two-seater bike, so he would be in the front and I'd be in the back. Like I grew up very active, and we used to go on bike trips, the Solly Trail in Virginia. I had a bike jersey when I was like 8, like I just had a lot of my dad always said I was a really strong biker. Never believed him. I was like, whatever, okay. He had always pushed me to do triathlon growing up, but I never wanted to because I did not like open water swimming, which is also like a whole other aspect of this. I was like, no, I'm just gonna stick with I'm gonna stick with the normal pool swimming. And he was like, okay, well, I think you're missing out. So then when I told him I was gonna sign up for this program, he's like, seriously? Like 15 years later. But when I signed up, I didn't even know that I needed a road bike. I was like, oh, why can't we just bring my mountain bike from home? My dad was like, you cannot ride 15, 25 miles on a mountain bike. You're going to be so tired. Like you could, but you'll be tired. So he helped me find a road bike. He went, picked it up for me, rode it around, he said, to test it, and brought it to me. We had a little weekend trip in Virginia last spring, brought it to me. It only had SPD pedals. Keep in mind, I had never used SPD pedals. I had clipped in, Soul Cycle or something, but I had never ridden a bike with clip-ins. But that was the only option. And he said he wasn't going to change the pedals. So I just had to buy shoes and get you. And I taught myself in my parking lot in my apartment at DC. And he was like, "This is gonna be a really good first bike for you. Like it's a solid bike." But he's very good at those things, and he's a very. I used to call him when I was first learning. And I was like, "How do I clip in? Like, how do I rewrap my handlebars? What do I need? What type of helmet do I need? Do I need bike gloves?" So he's always been a really good resource for me. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, that is so good to have your dad be able to be a good resource for you and know the things that you
Yes,
need because a clean bike is a fast bike, hands down.
that's
I
what.
don't I didn't know about that. That's not something that's taught in programs because bike cleaning is very different part of bike maintenance. And the
Mm-hmm.
part of it and making sure the clogs are cleaned really does impact your ability to go faster and not have the hangup. So for those of you who don't know how to clean your bike, I highly recommend going to YouTube and finding a bike that will allow you to see how to clean a bike. Wow, I tell you, so the rest of your year, you've done 2 triathlons. What was it like? And then we'll go to rapid fire.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Culpeper was super fun. I was just proud of myself for finishing. Culpeper is a very hilly course, um, very much so rolling hills. So it that's a hard race. But we had a great time in Culpeper, and I'm just super excited to be able to do it again. I love the Lake Anna course, so I really want to do the sprint again, just because that's a good kind of like intro, you know. And then I'm excited for the Colonial Beach race because I've never been to Colonial Beach. So,
Mhm.
and
Cologne.
then my goal looking forward is I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and every year they host a half Ironman and an Ironman, and the half Ironman's in the spring. So I think I would like to do the half in my hometown next spring. So that's kind of like what I'm looking forward to over the next year.
I love
But
it.
I have to learn. I have to run a half marathon first because again, I don't like. I gotta run half marathon. So that'll be the goal for the fall.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to go back to Lake Anna this year and see how we've progressed. Do you have your hopes set on qualifying for age group nationals again? And if you do qualify, would you go?
I don't think I have my hopes set. I mean, obviously it'd be nice, and I would definitely go this year. So
Okay. Well, they are in the Midwest this year. And so I hope that you qualify to get that experience
oh,
and
okay.
to do it. Um,
Yeah.
well, with that said, I'm so glad you had the experience that you have. And I just want to be clear, Jillian's experience is not typical for most beginners, but it can be yours, or it could be very different. But I love the fact that we bring beginners on that have very different experiences, very different athletic backgrounds that enables them to participate in the sport in a different way. So kudos to you as you continue to, as I say, matriculate through the sport and, do your half next year in the spring and then your full. Uh, Chattanooga is a great course from what I hear, so I'm sure you will have a lot of fun. Get on to some rapid fire questions. Favorite artist?
Okay. Favorite artist? Oh my gosh. Right now it's probably Tate McRae.
You said Kate McRae?
Tate McRae, Tate.
Oh, Tate. Tate. Okay. And favorite song?
All time favorite song is oh my gosh, why can I not think? Never Be Like You by Flume.
Okay. Swim, bike, run. Rank them in order of preference.
Swim is the top, bike is second, run is third.
The typical order. Okay. All right. Uh, favorite or what does your go-to workout look like?
I love a swim, like a mid distance swim with some fast, and then followed by a little bit of strength training, and then rolling out.
Okay, like foam rolling out?
Yeah,
Okay, okay. You actually like foam rolling. That's interesting.
I know, I do.
That's good. That's really
I
good.
I have a Theragun, and I love my Theragun. I use it every day.
Ah, good. That's good. Good practice. Good practice. Are you a transition minimalist, Goldilocks, where everything has to be just right, or kitchen sink space order?
Ooh, I guess I guess I'm a everything probably has to be specific. Like I did have a specific way I liked everything in my area.
Okay, so I would say probably like a minimalist. If you're specific, then you probably only had just what you needed, or
Yeah.
less. Okay. Um, dream training partner, alive or historical?
Wait, can you repeat that one?
Dream training partner, alive or historical?
Oh my gosh. I would love to swim with Katie Ledecky at least once.
Okay, okay. You got to see how we got to make that happen. She's a Virginian. See when she's coming
Exactly.
over here, because I hear she trains at. Sometimes she goes to the Woodrow Wilson.
Yes.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. And I usually don't let anyone leave the podcast without asking them this question. And that's, do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break? But considering the distances that you've attended to, that may not be an appropriate question. So, did you pee in your wetsuit?
No, I didn't have to go to the bathroom at all during the race, now that you say that.
Okay, okay,
I went right before I put the wetsuit on.
okay. Or pee in the water, like, I don't know if that, but you said no.
I think I probably peed in the water the second race when I wasn't wearing a wetsuit.
Okay. You didn't want Liz to know that you peed in her wetsuit. I
No.
understand that.
I was like, I do not want to give this wetsuit back knowing that like I had used it up.
I love it. I love it. Well,
Also,
thank you.
so like I was done in an hour, you know?
And now we know the true story done in an hour. Well, I love it. Thank you so much, Jillian, for joining us. And for those of you who are out there, we can't wait to hear your first time story. So be sure to write us, let us know what you're doing. You can reach us at Try Beginner's Luck on any of the major platforms. Be sure to like and share this podcast with your friends in hopes of encouraging them to take their try too. We have the saying at Try Beginner's Luck, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you truly always win. And we believe that, and clearly Jillian did it. She is a prime example of Try Beginner's Luck, taking it all in her age group. My name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.